welcome to the Wise Way to Success podcast. And today I have a special guest all the way from Ireland. This is Rachel Francis. She is a life coach. She is a coach that helps you with lots of things, relationships, lots of life challenges. But today, Rachel is here to discuss a very hot topic, people pleasing. So we are going to talk about what is people pleasing, why people please, and what to do not to give into these people pleasing traps. Welcome. Thank you so much, Rachel.
Thank you, Robert. I'm so happy to be chatting to this with you about this topic. It's one of my favorite topics. Let's dive into it.
Let's dive right into it. So, Rachel, what is people pleasing?
My personal definition for people pleasing is when you are living up to other people so much that you are putting yourself into a position of self-rejection. You are putting yourself into that position where you are literally saying no to yourself. And I mean, that's the most detrimental place we can be, right?
Absolutely. So you're saying no to yourself. And I guess if you're saying no to yourself, you're saying yes to somebody else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're not staying true to your own intuition. You're not staying true to your own standards, your values in life. You are actually disregarding all of your experiences that you've cultivated for yourself as an individual to get you to this point, and instead saying, nope, that person is more important. That person is more powerful than me, and assigning all of your power to them.
So people pleasing, although it sounds like you are helping people, you're doing something good, you're actually in a way disrespecting yourself. So
absolutely.
Why do we people please? A lot of times I hear we also people please because we're so scared and fearful of not being liked. So we people please to make people like us or to feel like we're worthy. We people please because by people pleasing, I'm going to be more likable. I'm not going to disappoint people. People are going to be able to come to me. But actually, what you are also doing, if you are pleasing people and you're not in a position to help them because you are taking from yourself, you're actually doing more harm to yourself than good by getting people's approval this way and feeling good about yourself because you feel like
absolutely. Yeah, it's a very primal fear a lot of us had because I mean, it's so ingrained into our psyche, going back thousands of years. If we were rejected by our community, we literally would not survive. And we still carry that with us, like so far deep down at our core, but that we don't realize that's not a reality anymore. We don't have to live this way. And as you said, it's that fear. It's that fear of rejection. It's that fear of being left out and being discarded by people. But like what you were saying, though, we think it's going to give us respect, but actually it does the opposite. What it does is it gives people an opportunity to see us not as the authority, but to see us as something frivolous. Like we're not important. We don't know what we're doing. We're giving all of the attention to that other person and validating what they have to say. And by doing that, we're really lessening ourselves in the eyes of other people as well, even though we think we're doing the opposite.
And I completely agree with you. And I think that it's a dangerous trap to fall into, people pleasing, because at the end of the day, there's no end to it. There's no end to giving and saying yes and saying yes and saying yes. So I want to give some people some tips. Now, I'm not going to go into such detail of why people please in terms of like how it started. Sometimes people pleasing starts from trauma. It starts from childhood. It starts from a traumatic experience in which people really feel the need to be needed because they don't feel valuable enough. But we won't really go so deep on that reason why the core of people pleasing. But I do want to talk about how to get out of that trap of people pleasing. So what would you say would be a good tip for somebody who is aware that they are saying yes when they really should be saying no? What is a good tip, Rachel, that someone could use to help them overcome this people-pleasing thing that they do?
Well, I think by having their awareness, first of all, that they are doing it, that is the biggest thing to start off with. You have your awareness, you know maybe why you might be doing it. You've kind of tackled that core reason. From there, you really want to lean into your detachment practices. So what does that mean? You want to lean into those moments of space that you give yourself to completely glorify yourself. So you're in your meditation, you're on your long walks, you're rowing down the river, you're doing your earthing, your breath work. These are moments just for you, where the world does not exist outside of you in those moments. They're only for you. And I think the more you can actually respect yourself in those moments, because you're in your self-care essentially, that's when you're really going to cultivate that relationship with self that is going to establish for you that you are the authority in your life. And you're going to build up that habit of looking back to yourself rather than looking outside of yourself. Overall, I think, it's really important to look at the bigger picture with things. They're like, what anyone thinks of you is irrelevant, but it also is meaningless, because everything is just perspective. Nothing is ever solid fact anyway. So one person has one opinion of you and the other person has a totally different opinion of you. People make assumptions all the time. It's movable, flexible, irrelevant. And so that's what I would say to people.
And I like this because you are the authority of your life, and you give away your power when you give away your authority. And when you do things that don't honor you or respect your boundaries, which is my number one tip for people pleasing, is respect your boundary. What feels right to you, what doesn't feel right to you. So know your boundaries, be aware, like what Rachel said, and really respect your boundaries. What are your boundaries? What feels good? What doesn't feel good? So that's number one tip for me, is to respect your boundaries. And I think it's really important, Rachel, let me know what your thoughts about this is I think it's really important that people are comfortable or get comfortable with the not saying yes or no at the moment. You can say, I don't know. Let me get back to you. Someone asks you for a favor, asks you to do something. You can get comfortable with the idea of saying, you know what, I'm not sure about that. Let me get back to you. I think people pleasers tend to go to that yes right away. And I think we need to go to that I'm not sure rather than that yes.
Yeah, because you're validating your truth. And if your truth is that you're not sure, then that's your truth. That's all anyone can ever expect of you. And I think I totally agree with what you're saying, because it's like you're in that panic mode of having to give up your answers straight away. And again, it's coming back to the fear, coming back to the core reason the whole time. So I think it's really great that you mentioned that.
Let's get out of fear. And I think that people pleasing comes from a really core place of fear, a fear of judgment, not being liked, not being good enough, not being able to get people to like them. It comes from a fear. And we can't give into fear. So when we say yes, when we really mean no, or we're not really sure, we are giving into the fear. So people pleasing comes from fear. So another tip that I would suggest people who are people pleasing to do is to recognize, like what you said, your people pleasing behaviors. And also I would set priorities. What do you prioritize time for yourself, set priorities, and really understand what is important to you. And sometimes what we do is we don't prioritize ourselves, we prioritize other people. And that is a really big people pleaser thing to do. Prioritize other people, not prioritize yourself. And prioritizing yourself means taking care of yourself, making sure that you're actually in a position to give. So when I say people to prioritize themselves, I mean prioritize time for you. And actually, when you prioritize time for you, you're actually in a position to give, believe it or not, versus just keep giving and giving and giving and giving and giving.
Yeah, we have to be really clear on who we are as people. And I love that you touched on that there, because I mean, that's what I coach my clients a lot on, is like the idea of your embodiment. Who are you embodying? And if you can get really solid in that, all of these little issues like people pleasing, they do start to break away, because all of a sudden your focus isn't on the external, it's on the internal, where it should be, because that's how we lead rich lives. That's how we get to where we need to be and feel how we need to feel, is by actually redirecting that focus there.
Perfect. So what would be, if you have one more nugget, one more thing to tell the Wise Way community, what would be one more nugget that you would tell somebody who is struggling with people pleasing? What would you tell them to do or not to do?
I think reframing would be a really good technique here. If you're really struggling and you just can't really see outside the box, literally flip the script on this. Why is it that you need to live up to other people's ideas and opinions and, you know, concepts about life. Why don't other people need to people please to you? Why is that not happening? Because I think sometimes when we think of ourselves, we put everyone else on a pedestal. We look outside of ourselves and everyone is above us because we're so in our own little world. We're so in our minds that we don't really identify with other people in the same way. We see them as kind of, you know, objects outside of us. But really, if you flip the script like this, we're all just people. We're all just living in this human experience. That person over there is no different to you, and you're no different to them. So why is it that they're not people pleasing to you? And it kind of, when you think about it in this way, it almost kind of injects this sense of humor about it, because you're like, oh my God, yes, I'm being silly about this, you know?
I love it. Flip the switch. And absolutely. And the greatest wish of, I think, a people pleaser or somebody who is a caretaker is to be taken care of. So ask yourself that question, that really important question that Rachel brings up. Why is it that you're the one that's always doing for others? And the greatest wish of a caretaker or a people pleaser is to be taken care of. But why would anybody take care of a people pleaser if they're doing all the pleasing?
Yeah.
Right?
You're so right.
Rachel, you are always a pleasure to talk to. How do people find you?
So, good question, because physically I'm in Italy, I'm in Ireland, I'm everywhere. But on the web, you can find me on Instagram at Rachel Francis Coach. That is my main platform at the moment, and I'm doing up my website as we speak, so that is in the works. I'm also a directory member with the international wellness group Viennetra, so you can find me on their platforms as well.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. And again, the Wise Way to Success has been created to help people, inform people, and get them to live their most successful, authentic life. So thank you, Rachel. Thank you for being part of the Wise Way community. Thank you, everybody who's tuning in and watching. Please share, subscribe if you haven't, like the video, share the video. Let's spread this type of knowledge and help so we can get a happier, healthier, and better society. Thank you so much. Wishing you all a wonderful day and making sure that you all just please stay safe, stay kind, and be well. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you so much.
Have a great day.